Welcome back. All right, some news of the day, and it's going to be kind of chaotic tonight. Not just for the fact there's 15 games, but for who's in the lineup. There's going to be a lot of who's in the lineup and who's not. We'll start off with Minnesota, who will be without Hartman as he serves his one-game suspension. There was some concern that maybe would lead into the playoffs as well, but it's a one-game suspension. Johansen is sore. He's not going to be playing tonight. They're not going any further than saying he's really sore and that they're hoping to have him back for game one. So Johansen should be back, of course. Pionk was fine for that yesterday as well. I didn't end up doing a video on that because I was like, I can't just do a video on Pionk being fine. But yeah, so Johansen out for now. But again, there's a lot of players who may very well get benched tonight because you're resting them for the playoffs. This is also the final game Taves will play with Chicago. The Blackhawks not bringing him back. That is now apparently official. And so for Taves, it's the end of an era. And so that does make the Chicago game against Philadelphia a little more, I don't know if watchable is the right term, but maybe more notable. Notable is a better way of putting it. It's a more notable game as a result. So, yeah, we'll see how Taves does. If he gets that goal that he got taken back in the last game, if he gets that one tonight. So Tempe First. I've talked about the continuing fight over Arizona and the airport and city of Phoenix and Tempe. Tempe First has really been ramping up the rhetoric over the last couple of days on their social media about the pending new arena. And I don't know if, to me, at least on the outside looking in, if they really thought they had the votes to reject the Tempe Arena or Tempe Entertainment District, I don't think they'd be pushing that hard. I really don't. And again, there's definitely stuff that's out there that they're saying that if you do the research, you'll realize there's some playful money, or at least the numbers seem to be a little bit skewed. A little, it just doesn't add up. But at any rate, we will know over the next month or so what's going to happen with Arizona and their plans to build that Tempe Entertainment District. And then if it does fail, we'll probably see really quickly what the backup plan is. So for Pittsburgh, the dream was ended last night as the Islanders knocked off the Montreal Canadiens. The Pittsburgh Penguins, for the first time in a long time, will not be in the playoffs. 16 seasons of playoffs are over. And it's interesting, too, because it is a historic playoff run, and I don't think we've seen a playoff run in the lifetime of this channel end like that. I know Detroit had a really long run that I think ended before the channel was big and before I would do videos on that kind of thing. Obviously, Boston had a really long run that would have ended way before I had this channel. And so, yeah, I will take a look at Pittsburgh and their runs. Once the regular season is officially completed, it's way easier for me to do a lot of these videos. Rather than just doing that with a game or two left, if you're going to look at the actual numbers, you wait till the end of the season. So a lot of the stuff that people are waiting for videos on, it might be waiting till the end of the season. So the Washington Capitals are one of two teams that have signed a goaltender today to an amateur tryout so that they have a backup. The Capitals have signed Reed Cooper to an amateur tryout contract. He will back up Kemper because Lindgren is hurt. So Lindgren won't be in the lineup for that final game of the season. And it's too bad. Lindgren, I think, had a decent year. I'd be interested to see if the Capitals bring back the same goaltending tandem, because the goaltending isn't what cost them a playoff spot. There were various extenuating circumstances that I think cost the Capitals a playoff spot. But going forward, I don't see any reason they can't still have Lindgren and Kemper together. But again, when you're going to an off season, and especially with goaltenders, it feels like we always have that revolving door with goaltenders that we look at every year. And speaking of which, tonight may very well be Craig Anderson's final NHL game. He hasn't made a decision as of yet what he's going to do next year, but it's looking like he's starting tonight against the Senators. He's in the starters net at practice. So it does appear that Anderson's going to get the start against Ottawa, and it makes a lot of sense. Buffalo, this game doesn't mean anything to them tonight. As I've been saying, though, in recent videos and for weeks, it feels like for months I've been saying, look, Buffalo, this is going to turn around. I think this is their last year outside of the playoffs. We've seen a huge improvement for the New Jersey Devils. Next year, it could be Buffalo that's next. Though Detroit and Ottawa definitely deserve some consideration for that as well. But yeah, Anderson getting the start tonight against Ottawa would make so much sense for his final start to be against the Ottawa Senators. So that game, now that it doesn't matter to the standings or to, playoffs, it makes sense for him to be the starter. The Jets. So the Jets tonight are against Colorado, and if you're a Dallas fan, there's not a lot of hope here that Winnipeg's gonna ice a lineup that's gonna knock off Colorado. Now, I'm not saying Colorado's gonna play everybody either, because it is that time of year where no, we'll just rest a bunch of guys. But Dubois and Ehlers are not in the lineup. They're hurt. They're not in the lineup. But after the morning skate today, that extra work, there's guys stick around for extra work. Josh Morrissey, Blake Wheeler, Mark Scheifele, and Nate Schmidt all stuck around after for extra work, meaning it is likely that all four of those players will not be in the lineup. And David Riddick was the goaltender in the starters net, so it's going to be Riddick. It looks like they'll be short 6 of their regulars, and so yeah, and that's against a Colorado team that is still playing for a division. So it's not like there's going to be mercy from them with that. The funny thing is, the last busy night we had on Tuesday, I actually wore my Cobra Kai jersey, and I thought, if we get a bunch of no mercy games, I guess I could wear the Cobra Kai jersey for the recap, and then none of them were no mercy games. So that may change tonight. Maybe Colorado does that with Winnipeg, because again, Winnipeg, they're the number 2 wild card. They have nothing to play for, so they're not concerned about who wins the division. They don't care. It's not their concern at all. And the other amateur tryout that's been signed is by Toronto. Samuel Richard signs, or Samuel Richard, I guess, depending, right? But he signs an amateur tryout contract to back up Wall tonight. So for Toronto fans, I mean, Samsonov not even dressing in the final game, I find that alarming personally. And of course, Matt Murray's hurt too. So, I mean, if Wall's the starter in game 1 against Tampa, I'm not saying it happens, because we've got a few days before we have to worry about that. But, I mean, on some level, that would probably be, I would think, some sort of a concern for the Toronto Maple Leafs, because you need a goaltender. You definitely need 2 goaltenders. The good news being the salary cap goes away in the playoffs, and this is part of the reason the salary cap goes away in the playoffs. The other reason being, players are all paid. All of their paychecks have been paid once the playoffs get started. So technically, it's not part of their contract. The playoffs aren't part of their contract, though if you do really well in the playoffs, you probably make more money during the regular season. But at any rate, there you go. So for those who've been, trying to guess who's going to win which games tonight, I don't know if any of this is going to impact it, because again, we will probably see a lot of players sitting tonight, a lot of guys being rested, and unless they have some sort of a maybe a milestone, they want to reach 40 goals or 50 goals. For instance, tonight for Toronto, Marner trying to reach 100 points. He's not the only one trying to reach 100 points either. So yeah, tonight could be a very, very interesting night. We could see some lopsided scores. We could see some surprises. And then tomorrow we've just got the 2 games, and then it is playoff time starting on Monday. So it's been a great regular season. I have really appreciated the busy nights, because they're gonna make it seem so much nicer after the season. So tonight I'll be fine. I even did in the preview, I talked about how I'm figuring out which games should get more attention than others from me. Though I think I could have figured that out without the number system. I think the number system's kind of fun too, and looking forward to doing that recap later tonight. So thank you guys so much for all your support. And of course, tomorrow with just the 2 games, I'm going to another Abbotsford Canucks game, because they're playing the Wranglers again. And after the way last night's game got kind of contentious, I'm thinking the next one's going to be pretty nasty as well. Again, my favorite moment from last night probably being when the referee is talking to one of the Abbotsford players about how and you could see that just from the body language, he didn't see the foul on the play, and the player's pointing at the big screen and going, well, look at it. Like, it's one of my favorite moments. And I think the fact, too, that they started a ref you suck chant while the officials were discussing whether or not to give a penalty on the play. And I wanted the referee to turn to the microphone and say, you know what? I was going to give him a penalty, but you guys told me I suck, so screw it. I'm not doing it. No, you did it to yourselves. No, everybody turn to the guy next to you. Okay, that's the problem right there, not me. All right, thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.